Welcome to
Well,
episode 18 of Whole Lot of Wolves. We're your hosts. I'm Joshua Buckley.
And I'm Paul LePage.
And this week, we're bringing back one of our most popular guests today, John Batista. How's it going today, John?
not bad. I appreciate you guys having me on.
So we really enjoyed John's episode. He was talking to us in episode 8 about how he became a Wolves fan. But more importantly, he is going to help us pronounce the players' names correctly. Being of Portuguese descent, he can teach us how to pronunciate all of our Portuguese players on there. For instance, who's the manager, John?
Nuno Espírito Santo.
Nuno.
Nuno Espírito Santo.
Yeah, Paul and I were talking, boy, the English and the Americans, we cannot pronounce anything, I don't think.
His name's actually, if you say his full name, yeah, it's pretty hard. But yeah, say it a few times, probably get the hang of it.
That's great. Unfortunately, the only game we have to talk about is that I don't even know what to call it Saturday. That 3-2 abysmal. It was bad. It was bad. 2 penalty kicks we gave up. One I felt like we should have gotten, but apparently it was okay for West Brom's guy to touch it with 2 hands. And
he was trying to catch it. Looked like he was...
Yeah, I guess there's 2 goalies there now. That's cool. But 3-2 loss. I know there was a lot of action online going after that game. A lot of disappointed people and a lot of people that are upset with Nuno. Paul, where do you fall on this?
I've always been delighted with Nuno, no matter what's happened, and with the whole team, really. FA Cup semi-final, we could have gone one step further and got to the final. The Europa League, but at each stage of those competitions, it was an achievement just to get there. So that's never wavered in my support of the manager and the players that he's had at his disposal. Saturday was the first time in this era I can generally say that I felt let down. And it was a lot of what we talked about as we finished wrapping up the preview of the game last week. Start strong, start quick, go at them. Don't let a goal in early. And what did they go and do? The complete opposite. Slow out the box. And a stupid mistake again from a senior player. And again, not just volleys, but in the second half. How quickly did they score again after they came out in the second half? Really quick. Again, silly error from Cody. These guys are our most experienced players. It's not like the kids that are giving up these fouls. It's the guys that should know better. And it goes back to the previous game with Moutinho. And I think they even mentioned on our commentary that we've given up the most penalty kicks in the whole of the league so far this season. And that, to me, says that something's wrong. And it really frustrated me that when they scored from the set piece and the camera angle panned to Sam Allardyce and he was going about effing time. And I just thought to myself, if he's managed to figure us out, if he's managed to get our Achilles heel, then how many other people are going to do exactly the same thing? We've got to get back to basics. We've got to get that defensive solidity back somehow. And I can't see it coming at the moment. So something's got to change, be it formation, be it personnel, be it a combination of the both, and just some solidity and players playing themselves into form.
Yeah, it's been obviously interesting what's been going on. I think the first thing we do need to look at is I saw a stat and it said that the night that Raul Jimenez got injured, we won against Arsenal. That left us 4 points off the top. Today, we're 16 points off the top. I know we've been talking about, everyone's been talking about it. Jimenez, Fabio Silva, he doesn't have the experience Jimenez has. We know this. So I want to say that, yes, Jimenez, if he was in these games, he could have made the difference, but it still doesn't excuse the mistakes that our defense is making. The set pieces where, yeah, Big Sam's talking about how everyone knows that we're the team that suffered the most from set pieces. That's a problem. And I think it's appropriate to put some blame on Nuno as well, because the players make some sloppy mistakes and, they shouldn't. But that's something that should be practiced in the training ground. And it's almost crazy that last year we had, how many clean sheets did we have? I don't know the exact number, but we had a lot. We were a defensive team. And this year we tried to play more offensively. And I just feel that it's not working out. Maybe it's taking a little bit longer than we thought it would. But we don't know how to break teams down. We just don't know how to break teams down. last year we did it from counterattacks. This year, teams are letting us control the ball. I think we had over 60% ball possession against West Brom, and it didn't get us anywhere. We weren't able to really create that many opportunities for the possession that we had. So it's definitely been different than the Wolves that we're used to seeing. And I wonder if it's because we're playing with a back four now. We did play with a back four against West Brom, right?
Yeah, no, and that's absolutely it. They spent 3 years building this team defensively with a 3-man back line and then the 2 wing backs. And now we've gone to the 4-man back line, and it's been a disaster. You're hoping with the 4-man back line, okay, we're getting guys out there and then they can break down the team. But that's not happening either. We're just kicking it around all over the place. And it's because we don't have that guy to get the in shot in. Fabio got his first goal. Yay. And it was a pretty one too.
Yeah.
Fabio's been working hard. I don't think on the offensive side you can fault the players for not working hard. I feel like they are. It's just, look, Connor Cody's not a back four. I don't know if Willie Volley's a back four.
That's right.
We need that 3-man back line. We need to go back to the 3-4-3.
You got to remember, you just called out those players as well. They all came through the Championship. Bolly, Cody, Saiss. It's not like we went up to the Premier League and spent 25, 30 million on a superstar centre-back like Diaz at Man City, who's took like a duck to water this league. So we're relying on players to fill these roles in a new formation. They're getting found out, unless the only way I can see any type of really formation change to switch to something and have that as your primary setup would be a better caliber of player. As you mentioned, John, you could probably talk to Bolly's experience prior to coming to the Wolves, but he didn't play a ton, did he, in the back four? So
no,
absolutely
not.
Have we got to get, if we're playing that formation, have we got to get better players? But I think what I always thought of in this evolution, change of approach, whatever you call it, I always got the impression that fans weren't too bothered that it was 3 at the back or 5 at the back. It was having something mid-game to switch and do something different, whereby we'd come up at home against a team like a Newcastle who'd park the bus. In those types of games, if you're 60 minutes in and you keep on doing the same, nothing's changed, then's the time to change it. Take Cody out, or take someone out, so it's a 3 at the back or it's a 4 at the back. Attack from that point onwards. I think it's a case of throwing the baby out the bathwater just to immediately switch from 5 to 4 and think that's going to be the solution for everything. I think the flexibility is needed. There needed a plan B and a more robust plan B mid-game to go offensive when needed against those types of opposition. I think that's the failing for me this season.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And also, we're still looking at all the injuries. Yeah, finally we got Bolly back. Hopefully we'll get Podence back soon. But you're changing formations with all new players. A bunch of are still getting used to the league. I think it's pretty clear Semedo still hasn't settled in yet. With Raul hurt, obviously you've put so much pressure on Fabio, which is really unfair. I know, and that's what gets me a little bummed out, seeing online all these people that are ready to turn on him already. Man, you could see the potential. That was a really good goal that he scored. That was a quick, decisive goal. And I hope that was the confidence boost he needed, but it's tough for him. That's a lot of pressure.
It was nice to see that element of his game, the fox in the box analogy, that a chance broke to him. He got a bit of luck, but he didn't panic and he slotted it away perfectly. And towards the end of the second half, when that opportunity came to Cutrone, I was just, if only the roles were reversed and that came to Silva, because I'd have rather banked on Silva having his confidence level to put it away. And it just felt that air of dread when it came to Cutrone. It was a chance. It was pretty gilt-edged. And yeah, I think that shows where we're suffering forward line for sure.
I see the same comments that you're referring to, and I think, do I need to remind these people that Jimenez is 11 years older than Fabio Silva.
Yeah.
He's 11 years older. Come on, let's be realistic here. He was bought for the future. He wasn't bought to. No one even thought that Jimenez was going to get Jimenez has been fit this entire time at Wolves. Very few injuries. So I think to be upset that Fabio Silva hasn't scored as many goals as Raul Jimenez, it's crazy. It's unrealistic. He's not gonna. You got to give him some time.
In fact, it was funny. I remember one of our early episodes we were talking about, when's Fabio going to make his first start? And I actually put the West Brom game as I thought it was going to be his first start. And instead, that was his 10th?
Yeah,
something like that.
It's a good chunk of the season. So experience-wise, he's getting minutes and getting experience under his belt.
Yeah, we didn't expect Jimenez to get injured. And I remember saying it too. I'm like, if Jimenez gets injured, no one thought. And honestly, I don't know. I love Jimenez, but if it was a different injury, let's say it was like an ankle injury that took him out for a couple games or something, like nothing major, I probably would have been happy because I would have said, Fabio was going to get a chance to get some minutes in. But it was the worst injury ever. Yeah. And we don't know when he's coming back.
And
it does point to strategy as well, that on the one hand, £35 million on an 18-year-old, that's a heck of a lot of money. And I know that they're buying potential, they're buying for the future. He became available and they had to strike. But it still seems to me that they missed that opportunity for some more short-term cover. And it's such a hard position to fill, that you wanting to sign a guy that you're going to say, look, you're going to be starting from the bench because Raul's our number 9. But in an ideal world, that is who we should have been looking at in the summer, that we've at least got 2 number 9 caliber players on the bench that Nuno could turn to, one with more experience than Fabio. But yeah, who could have that been? I'm not sure if they're even out there. So it's a tricky one, kind of caught between a rock and a two.
And I think that's why Nuno's going to be safe, because Fosun knows what they did over the summer. Yeah, they gave him some win now guys like Semedo, but they also invested a ton of money in Fabio Silva. They invested money in Vitana. They invested money in Aït-Nouri, who I still think has a ton of potential. So they spent a lot of money investing in the present and sent Jota off to Liverpool, which I still don't think was bad business. I think it was good business, but they're not going to turn on him now. They know what's going on with the injuries and everything. So the people, they're like, oh, no out. No, Nuno's
but who do you get?
Yeah, exactly.
Who do you get? I heard someone say sorry, and I said I've heard fans say he's awful. Juventus didn't like he didn't really do it. I think he did win the title at Juventus, but anyway, to turn on Nuno after what is it? 3 years now? 3 years?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Fans they forget so quickly that there are so many other teams that try to do that. You can't just get rid of a coach and bring on another coach and expect things to change overnight. It'll take more time. So you're talking about now a couple of years before that coach can implement his ideas. That it takes time. That's usually what happens. And we're seeing it with Ali at Man United. And I think a lot of it also comes with the money that they've spent. And like you said, they spent a lot of money on players that fit Nuno's strategy, and to just now reverse over some bad performances, which we all know if Jimenez was playing in a lot of these games, things would have turned out differently.
Yeah. And you're going to bring in a new manager who's not Portuguese. How's that going to fit with the team chemistry?
That's always been a question that we've. That's funny, right? We don't like to think about a post-Nuno era, but it is true. What happens, because this whole partnership, there's so much at stake. So that's another good point. But I don't think Nuno's going anywhere. They're very tight-knit. Nothing's going to happen. It's going to take a lot more for Nuno to get sacked.
Yeah,
it would honestly take them being relegated.
Yeah, I generally think it's a blip. Happens to most teams. There's something about Nuno. It's always given me the impression that we're going to have him for a long time, and that's something that we've never really had as Wolves fans. We've never had that real high caliber coach that's going to be in it for the long haul. I'm disappointed after Saturday, but I'm not wavering in my support for the guy. I'm sure it's just a blip, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, obviously, but I would just wish there was more patience, that we would be more of a collective of a fan base to come together and rally. It's never pats on the back, especially after a defeat to your local rivals, but bigger picture, everything that's gone on, I wish we had more of a one pack mentality through these results, because we've all seen likes of Arsenal, Manchester United this season. 2 wins on the bounce changes your season and puts you on that upward trajectory. 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 wins out of 6 with a draw thrown in there. If this is the bottom, to kick on from here and come back together as a fan base and all be that one voice behind the team.
Yeah, we dropped just a few points. What if the free kick against Newcastle, if we stop it? What if Odasoe gets his head on that last header?
Yeah.
What if they had actually called a handball against West Brom? We could have been up 3-1 at halftime, and 3-1 at halftime. It probably would have been a different game. It is what it is. Once again, like we've talked about, Paul, it's about treading water. John, so Paul and I have talked about best case scenario right now. How would the season finish as a Wolves fan? Best case scenario, what do you think the Wolves finish is that you'd be happy with?
We need Europa League. I think we realized this year that we miss not having Europa League is actually hurting us. I actually at one point thought I have to go back into my comment and correct myself, because in the summer I was thinking, you know what, this could actually benefit us because maybe we can get a top 4 place. The Europa League does sometimes if you don't have the depth, but this year I feel like, who knows, Fabio Silva would have been playing more games prior to that Jimenez injury. Maybe he would have been playing in Europa League against some of these teams that aren't that good in group stage early on. So I feel like it is hurting us that we're not in Europa League. So hopefully we get to a place where if an English team wins the Champions League, then seventh can qualify, right?
Yeah. Or if we win the FA Cup.
Exactly. But yeah, top 4, I don't think that's realistic. But I will say this league has been wide open. This league has been unlike any others that I've watched in my lifetime. And it's upsetting that we haven't been able to take advantage of a lot of these other teams with poor forms. But yeah, you said it. Things could turn around. Look at Man United. They got eliminated from the Champions League. Ali was about to go out. They were going to hire Pochettino. Now they're in first place.
Yeah.
Things are switching. Tottenham at one point were in first place. Now they're in 5th. This league this year is very unique because of COVID. And I think we also have to take that into account, that COVID definitely had an effect on us.
Yeah. So that was going to be my next question. Do you guys think that Wolves are being hurt more than most teams with the fans not being in the stadium? And Paul, you could probably best say this because you've been in Wolverhampton and you've seen the way that the team feeds off of the crowd.
Definitely. It's a close, compact stadium. Molineux it's an older design versus some of the more modern stadia that are more bowl effect, or a big distance from the crowd to the pitch, like in West Ham's case. And certainly having that loud backing in the South Bank, particularly if you're chasing a game in the second half, that 5% boost, I do think we're a team that relies upon the fans a great deal. Flip side is it can be negative sometimes, but then again, it's just so hard to predict that. How would we know how it's going to turn out with that fan base? Would there be negative at the moment, or would they be seeing the hard work and the fine margins that we've had, and we'd be giving the team a pass based on that we've been unlucky in certain games? It's so hard to tell, but I definitely think we're one of the fan bases that makes a huge difference. Like just today, I think it was the anniversary of our first season back in the Premier League when we beat Leicester 4-3, and we went ahead 2-goal lead, absolutely cruising. They came back, we scored a third, they equalised again. And typically that would have been heads down for the Wolves, and we've thrown away a 2-goal lead and we've got a point, and be negative. And up pops Jota in the 93rd minute and scores. And that's the type of things that everyone's missing. And it makes a difference. And fans are suffering, teams are suffering. I think it's one thing that has hurt the Wolves pretty bad.
I did have a question for you guys. I was wondering, so I remember when Diogo Jota signed for Liverpool, there were a lot of Wolves fans online upset, and they were whatever. He's not our player anymore. But do you guys feel that do you think that hurt us? Do you think we would have been better off today if he still was on our team? I know he's injured now, right? He's still injured, I think.
Yeah, and
But-
I always felt like that was the issue with him was he's going to give you spurts where he's awesome, and then he's going to hit down spurts, or he's going to be injured, and he's either super hot or ice cold or hurt. I don't really think there's any kind of in betweens with him. Obviously, with Podence being out, yeah, sure, we could use Jota, but I still think it was good business. We just need Semedo, which is who they use that money on to really step it up right now.
Right. I was also wondering, should we sign a forward? I know we brought Coutron back, but should we sign a forward? Someone that can score goals, that has experience.
I still think there's scope, especially now that we've got that expanded bench. There's still a spot to fill from Jota, and especially now with the injuries that have taken place. But regardless, I think if Nuno needs to turn round and look at that expansive bench, and he's practically got 3 players that could be replaced in the forward line, then yeah, you need probably 3 on the bench to pick from. We really haven't got that at the moment, in that the type of player that could come on and make a difference. I'd be thinking that's an area that they need to be strengthening, either in this window, which is looking unlikely, but certainly the summer as well.
Yeah, I think it would be nice, but I just can't see him doing anything this window. I think they've pretty much made it clear. Paul, I'm curious how you're feeling about Morgan Gibbs-White, because you saw he was liking social media posts criticizing Nuno.
And this is where I'm going to ask for John's expertise as well. What's happened from that Manchester United game and the Brighton game to suddenly reverse Vitana and then have Morgan Gibbs-White come back in and seem to immediately take up that role as the attacking midfielder, where he's come on and he's not impacted a game as such. Vitana had a really good game against Man United, but I thought he was lacking fitness, and that got shown up about 60-minute mark, and whether it's still a conditioning exercise that he needs to build on. I'm quite shocked that Morgan Gibbs-White has come out of the blue after this recall and has been either Nuno's go-to guy in midfield, or advanced midfield, or actually starting the game like he did against Everton. I'm struggling to see the reasoning behind that over Vitana at the moment.
I'm biased because Vitinha is one of Porto's players, former player, but I like Vitinha. I wanted to see more with him, and yes, on that game I thought he did play well, and I think it's exactly what you stated, is that lack of match fitness, and I think that's obvious because he wasn't getting a lot of game time to begin with. I would like to see more of him, and I don't understand what's going on. I don't know if Nuno wants more time for him to adapt. Maybe he's not training as hard. That's the one thing with fans, all right? We don't see the training. We don't know what's going on the training ground. So maybe it has something to do with that. But I'm also a bit disappointed. I would like to see more of him. I actually think we could use a number 10, someone like him. I think with his abilities, his qualities, where he's in the middle, and he's pretty creative, and I think he's more creative than both of them. Neves has great long ball, passing ability, but in regards to having someone right behind the number 9, splitting defenses, I think that he would be a perfect fit for that. But
do you know if his deal with Porto is an obligation to buy, or is it an option?
If I remember correctly, it's an obligation.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I seem to remember it as well.
Yeah, I had heard conflicting reports, so I find that pretty interesting, because you'd think if it was an obligation, you'd just go ahead and be giving him more time. Gibbs-White is not in the future of this club. I feel like he's a short-term fix. There's a reason they sent him off on loan in the first place. He's a knucklehead.
That's what the narrative's playing out, that he's still young by those standards, but is it the choices that he's making off the pitch, and is that having a negative effect, and is he getting ideas above his station and everything that goes with it? I think is he missing guidance? Is he missing a strong agent that can put his arm around him and say, look, Morgan, you need to do some social media training, savviness to what's going on in the world and people's negative reactions, because with the Wolves would like nothing better than to have a homegrown player from a few miles down the road come in and be a star for the team. But it just seems that every opportunity that he's A, not grasping, and B, is doing stuff off the pitch that's pissing people off. And that's not a good combination. I'm surprised somewhat that he's been recalled. And I'm surprised that he's been such a focal point since his return. I was really thinking that he was being put in the shop window at Swansea to say to prospective suitors, yeah, we sent him out on loan. He's struggling to get into a Premier League team, but he's tore the Championship up, and suddenly you've got a £10 million young midfield on your hands. And then the Wolves had snapped their hand off for that because they know there may be issues with his attitude or whatever goes on behind the scenes that might make him a bad egg. I think that there's something not quite right.
He's a championship level player.
I think at this point, just to your question about whether or not it's an obligation or option to purchase him, I'm seeing reports that it's actually an option of 20 million. But I also remember at the time, some mixed reports. But it makes sense if it's an option. It makes sense. Maybe they think they'd rather spend 20 million elsewhere because that's what the option. If in fact it is an option, it's 20 million. That I know. I remember seeing that number 20 million.
Right.
But he hasn't even really given an opportunity. And I think that in the few games that he's played, I think actually a lot of Wolves fans actually liked him. In contrast to Fabio Silva, I think obviously we see a lot more fans upset about that. But I think with Vitinha, a lot of fans want to see more of him. And I don't think Morgan Gibbs White is better than him. I don't.
No, I completely agree with that. It's a little break from the Premier League, and now Chorley, which Paul did a great job explaining the history behind that last week. For anybody that didn't listen, Paul, just a real quick recap on that.
It was really the bottom of the bottom that the club hit playing-wise in 1986 when non-league Chorley took 4th Division Wolves to a second replay and beat us 3-0. And it was a few weeks after Bully had signed. And from that point, it was onwards and upwards. But yeah, that was really the lowest point in that immediate history. And it's the same this time around. Thankfully, we're a Premier League team now, but Chorley is still non-league and they put away Leeds 3-0 in the 3rd round. They're not going to be scared of Wolves rocking up there on Friday night. So we're going to have to be on our A game, I think.
And it's going to be interesting. So the game is on Friday on ESPN Plus because it is an FA Cup game. It's at 1:45 Central Time. That's going to be 2:45 for you, John.
Okay, perfect. That's you said Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday. So what kind of lineup do you guys want to see? I know we've been talking a lot about going defensive, but against a team, surely we shouldn't have to worry about that. Do we try the back 4 one more time or go with the back 3?
I'll just say this. These teams will fight for everything. This is the game of their lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the tricky thing with playing teams that are in lower divisions in the FA Cup. They're going to give it their all. But I don't know. It looks like we're going to go back 4. I think we need to go back 4, though. I'll say that. I think to go back 5 against a team in a lower division wouldn't be smart. I think, I would like to see him in a back 4, but please, no defensive errors. Please.
Yeah, we've got to go strong. What I'd like, and I don't see it happening, is I would revert back to the back 5. Make sure we're strong in the wing backs. So Semedo and Out-Nuri, they've got the attacking brief. That's where it's going to come down from the flanks. We're strong in midfield, either Neves and Dendoncker, or if Dendoncker has a break, Otasowie comes in. Then we've got that more advanced midfielder, whether it's Vitinha, maybe Podence. But up top, I play both Fabio and Catrone and give it 2 strikers and see how they do together. I think it's a prime opportunity to see if there's any potential partnership there. I think it's important that Fabio keeps playing. If he gets another goal, builds on his confidence a ton. But that's a slight shake-up that we've still got solidity at the back, but we've got that attacking the tent from the flanks, 2 guys down the middle, a guy supporting them behind. So it's effectively a forward 3. That's what I'd like to see.
So with that, though, you'd have Neto and Adama on the bench. Is that right?
Which is fine. I think for this type of game, that whilst we need a strong team, we've got to be mindful of the schedule and the quick turnaround to the next game. It's definitely a time to rest those creative players up top, but it's a fine balance. We don't want to take everyone out because it's going to be a tough game, as we rightly say. But on the flip side, we need to manage minutes. We need to manage the schedule. If needs be, Adama's on the bench and ready to come on and do some damage if needs be. But
see, I think I'd rather Adama start, number one, because I don't see how Chorley can stop him. This should be an Adama beatdown game. But I also would rather them just work their butts off in the first half to get a good lead and a big lead, and then start pulling guys back. If you want to start out with that back 4 with Adama, with Neto up top, and then if you can get a big goal, then yeah, that's a good time to pull Adama off and maybe move to a back 5, and that's a perfect opportunity to try Catrone and Silva. But I don't feel like with the form they're in, they can afford to take any chances. I feel like their season is going to come down to the FA Cup now. So let's go full out and make sure there's no doubt in this. These guys did beat Leeds 3-0. I didn't see Leeds lineup for that game. I can't imagine it was a strong one because they said, oh, we're playing Chorley.
Yeah, we do have Chelsea the following week. I think, 4 days later? 4 or 5 days later? I think it's something like that. Away. But do they have fans
I don't think
Chelsea
does, no.
Complete lockdown again in the UK. So
that's right. That's right.
Every stadium, there's no tiers anymore. Everyone's the same till at least February, I think. So
yeah, I agree though. FA Cup is important.
Yeah, and it's not like Chelsea has gotten a ton of rest. They play today. They play on Sunday in the FA Cup, and then they play again us on Wednesday. So we're already going to get a couple more days rest than them. Granted, Chelsea's a much deeper team, but it's not like they're on great form right now either. They've been a little bit of a bugaboo for us. I want to see the first team get some confidence. I feel like after the West Brom game, they need confidence. They need to go out there and, especially after disappointing the fans, really put a beat down on Chorley to go, look, this isn't happening again.
Yeah.
Do you start Fabio Silva?
Yes. Yeah, I think.
Hopefully he can get some goals, right?
Yeah.
Confidence.
That would be a real kick in the nuts for him. If congratulations, you scored your first goal, now we're going to take you off. I still don't know how much Nuno trusts Catrone. I felt like West Brom was going to be the time to put Catrone in there, and he wasn't. So I don't know. But no, Fabio has to start. Right now, he's the present and the future.
And that's true. Yeah. No, I would like to see him score. I really think as he begins to score more goals, he's going to only gain confidence, and that'll help him settle in. I will say this: Raul Jimenez, his headering ability is so great, and that's one thing that we're missing. And Fabio Silva hasn't. I've seen him get some opportunities and not put him on target. But anyway, I hope he can get a couple. If he can get a hat trick, even better.
Yeah.
Pray for the best.
It's that there's aspect to his game at the moment that either he or we've got no control over, and that's his physical makeup. And he's going to be a big guy, but he's still growing, and that's going to factor into his game in 2 or 3 years' time, where his upper body strength increases. He adds that element to his game. He's harder to knock off the ball. Look what Neto did from lockdown last season. He bulked up and harder to knock off the ball. Now he's got that upper body strength. That's the things that's in our favour, that Fabio can work on those. But at the same time, he's showing enough to me, like his goal on Saturday in his first half performance, that when it all comes together, that's a quality number 9 that we've got. We just got to see that through. That's where the investment's being made.
So we'll have Chorley on Friday, and then It's at noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday when they face off against Chelsea, which there have not been a lot of good results for us against Chelsea, but Chelsea has not been having a lot of good results, period, lately. So I think that's definitely a time where they for sure have to go back to a back five against Chelsea and just try and play counter.
It's a good time to play him, that's sure. It's our first chance for a double this season against one of the bigger teams. I'm definitely of the thinking that it's a chance to get back to basics, because it is going to be tough going to Stamford Bridge with the form that we're in, never mind them, and getting a point or better. So I think it's a case of being defensive, going back to basics, and seeing if we can get that counter-attacking style back, because I think it's an opportunity for a team like Chelsea where we could see it, like Neto's goal.
Yeah, I was
the
going to
home
say
game.
like Neto's goal. Yeah,
I'm sure there's going to be those types of options, especially if the pressure's on Frank, that he needs to go and get a win. I don't think he's going to be entering it negatively. He's going to be trying to attack, so it could play into our hands.
just hope Tommy Abraham isn't starting, since he always seems to have our number. But yeah, hopefully they can build on the fact that they got that last win against Chelsea in the final minute there. But like you said, that was all on a counterattack.
I agree with you guys. I think playing big, we've always, in the past couple of seasons at least, we played well against bigger teams. I think we were one of the teams outside the top four that secured the most points against Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, etc. So I think they'll be excited, they'll be motivated, and if they can get a good performance, maybe that'll cheer up some fans and quiet down some that are calling on Nunu's resignation. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think if they can win these next two games, I need you guys' help. I want to start the hashtag Nuno in.
Yes, I'll be.
Or Noonie in and do
Noonie
properly.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
There's a play on words, there's a play on pronunciations and spelling there for sure. Yeah.
My hashtag Adama time has not fully caught on as well as I had hoped. So maybe I can get both of those going this week.
Yeah, I'll be more active on Twitter too. I've been, like I said, I've just relocated and whatnot, but I'll definitely try to help push those hashtags.
Yes. Cool, guys. So let's hear predictions. Let's start with the Chorley game first.
It's a result on the night, but let's take some confidence in there. And I'm going to say we're going to win 3-1.
Yeah, I definitely see us suffering a goal. So I'm going to go with, but I'll say 4-1.
4-1.
Yeah.
I was also going to go 3-1 as well, Paul.
Okay.
I think that sounds like, boy.
I'm a little more optimistic than you two, I guess.
Yeah, but we all just foresee some silly goal or a ridiculous penalty.
Which is normal sometimes in against these smaller teams. The players they go up 2-3-0, and next they're not focused and they suffer. So I think actually it's normal. I've seen bigger teams suffer a goal here and there against these smaller teams, having it on hand.
I wouldn't be shocked if they gave up the first goal, to be honest.
Oh, no, I don't want that though.
We've got one massive advantage going into a non-league stadium, though, and that is no VAR. So that can't chat with us this week. So be thankful for small mercies.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that should help us.
And what about Chelsea?
Oh, yeah, Chelsea. Yeah, Chelsea. I'm going to go with a classic tie against Chelsea. I think it'll end up in a draw. I think Lampard needs a win. I don't see Chelsea losing against Wolves, so I think it'll be a tie. But a good result for us, I think I think it'll be one of those games where we come very close to winning the game and it just doesn't happen, but still a good performance nonetheless. That's my prediction.
Okay, put a score on it, John.
I'll do 1-1.
Okay, I'm thinking along similar lines, and at this stage, I think a point would be a very good result away from home, regardless of how Chelsea are doing at present. But to mix it up a bit, I'll go 2-2.
Wow, we are all agreeing here tonight. I was going to say 1-1. 1-1 draw, and I think that would be a good result. So hopefully we'll see a back five that game, but it always seems like Chelsea can sneak one by us even when we have that defensive lineup in. But counterattack, that's what we need on that game.
Exactly, yeah.
Paul, when are you going to come up with the standings thus far for these scores?
Yeah, I've kept it going. There's an Excel spreadsheet, so I'll put it together and give we're pretty close to midway point in the league. So
Yeah.
next week I'll give you all an update of who's on top and everything.
I don't think it's pretty.
Yeah, we're not challenging any supercomputers in terms of predicting results or predicting the final table at the end of the season. So
we may be in relegation zone. I don't know.
Oh, I don't want to hear that.
So, Paul, what no stupid questions have landed this week?
So, no stupid questions. That part of the show where you get in touch and ask us anything about the Wolves, be it historical, the match day experience, our opinions on something to do with the club. So to do this, go to our Twitter or our Facebook. You can ask on there, or send an email to hello@wholelotofwolves.com, and we will answer it that way. One listener who has been in touch this week is Chris Worsfold. This is a nod back to the game on Saturday, and he asks, given the alarmingly little time VAR gave to properly analyse the first penalty and Gibbs's handball, is this retribution for Nuno's comments about the ref Mason? VAR decided way too quick on both compared to other comparable incidents. What do you think on that one, guys?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. That handball, the one on it was Gibbs, right? It was
Yeah, it was
Gibbs. Yeah, so it's because what they're trying to do is they're trying to avoid calling a handball when the player has no idea where the ball's coming, but his hands were out, and he pretty much caught the ball, and they didn't call that.
That was what was crazy to me. It wasn't a handball; it was a hands ball.
With
two
that,
hands.
Yeah, with that one, if that was on any other part of the pitch, would have been given straight away if the referee had seen it. And the flip side, if VAR should have seen it. Now, have they flipped and gone too far that if that had happened right at the start of the season, like it did unfairly for Kilman against Leicester, then that's what pisses me off, is that reasoning, that theory has been changed mid-season. That's not right, because we suffered from it in that game. This game, we're the opposite side, benefited from what was the gilt-edged penalty. My only issue around it that I saw post-game, I think it was on the Monday, someone analysed them on Twitter, was that if it had been given, there was a nudge into the keeper that prompted the keeper to palm it into Gibbs that probably would have been given as a foul on the keeper anyway. So gilt-edge handball, when you can't do that in the 6-yard box. That rule should be to stop the likes of the Kilman one, where someone slide in and your arm's in an unnaturally position. He had two hands on the ball. So
He had him out. It was
Yeah.
it wasn't even like so I understand the frustration when they call a handball and a player is running and the ball somehow hits his hand, and because you can't run with your arms tied behind your back. That's not normal. But in that case, I saw him. His hands were out, extended, and he looked like he closed his eyes at one point. Like he sees it, and he just puts his hands out. So it almost looks like he didn't want he was trying to prevent the ball from hitting against him or something. So that to me was a clear penalty that should have been called a penalty. And it definitely affected us.
It at least should have been given by the ref and then to be reviewed by VAR. And if VAR had said there was a foul in the build-up to begin with, fair enough. But that should be what the whole rule's there for now, where we're on the wrong side of it. The first one, I've got no clue what camera angles they're looking at Stockley Park in their little room, because to the naked eye and the replays that we saw as fans from the broadcast, that was really hard to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, if like that, you got folks who've broken it down by the frame. The contact was on the leg and he was on the line, and that's the box, so it's a penalty. But to Chris's point, the quickness of how that decision was made was startling, because penalty, VAR check, straight away, bang. That's what's surprising to me. And I'm not sure I get with these refs and the whole setup of VAR and Nuno's comments, it's like an old boys club, and they're all looking out for each other, and they're not gonna put their friend under the spotlight for making wrong decisions because it'll negatively affect him, and they're all looking after each other. So if Nuno's pissed off the officials because of the comments about Lee Mason, then it could well have done, and we could be having a bad rap for it. And still, I always remember that foul on Adama in the Arsenal game that he got booked for. That was,
Yeah.
and we've seen that penalty given so many times this season, and he gets a booking for it. And it's that inconsistency that gets me. And I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but man, we've had some bad calls. We really have.
Yeah, the first penalty, they have to go with the call on the field, I felt. But the Gibbs handball, I was just sitting there, okay, yeah, VAR is going to look at this real quick, and penalty. And it just didn't happen. And then how quick they were to say no handball was really stunning. I hope it's not retribution. I don't know. It's hard to say. If it was, that should be when the EPL itself should be able to step in and go, look, guys, you're making this a little too obvious. I know that's what American sports leagues would do. Because, too, if you're dealing with something like this where the referees are intentionally manipulating results, there is a lot of money at stake when you're talking gambling in that league. So that could be the big issue. If there's no confidence in there, that hurts the league as far as gambling money. So,
but I think it's an issue for me that you've got these referees that are making the decision from Stockley Park. Why can't that be more independent? Why can't it be a team of video refs that have nothing to do with the in-game dynamic, either in that game or other games? They're totally schooled on the rules. They do whatever training, qualifications, exams they have to pass. They come to the agreement. This is the rules. This is the playbook that we follow in terms of these fouls. What should be given? I think that it's too much. It's too murky that you've got all of these refs that know each other, somewhat of a closed shop. That has suspicions to me, because they've all got jobs that are riding on this as well. And I think when we look at those comments that Nuno made against Mason, when you read the backstory, I think from his report, that when he got the fine, he'd actually spoken out against him previously. And the following week, guess what? He was demoted to the Championship to ref a game. That hits him financially. That hits his career.
Oh, yeah.
So you're messing with too many dark arts with this, with the setup that it's in. It's asking for trouble, I think.
and here I would have thought Mike Dean would have been the one that got us all in this issue.
But this is the sad state of affairs, that there's not one ref that you think now come in to ref a game. You think, oh, great, there isn't one. And even if there is a semi-decent one, you think, oh, he's not too bad. Oh, but who's the VAR official? Oh, no, it's David Coote. He's got it as well. Or Andre Mariner, who's an Aston Villa fan, that there's no rivalry there. Go figure that one out. So, yeah, I think that this needs fixing, period.
Yeah, that's a big problem too, because if they can't communicate, the reason why the referee and the linesman, they're on the same team, is so that they have time. They can be good at communicating with each other regarding decisions on the field. And so it doesn't make any sense to me that the VAR, I think that's a whole issue that they need to figure out. And I'm surprised the EPL has failed to implement VAR in the correct way. I thought they would. I thought they would have gotten it right, especially because they were, I think they only did it a year later. A lot of other leagues did it previously.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
From other people's mistakes is what they should have done.
It's no better in Portugal, I'll tell you guys that much.
We've also got a number of social shout outs this week. Remember, it's the part of the show that if you get in touch with us on Facebook or Twitter, let us know where in the world you are listening in from. We will give you a shout out on the show. So doing this week is Sean in Arlington in Texas. We've got Andrew Caddick in Detroit, Michigan. This one I really like. The username on Twitter is @Dudley2ATL. So I'm taking that means you're from my hometown of Dudley in England and now in Atlanta. And finally, we've got Eddie Fong, who's all the way over in Brisbane, Australia. So g'day to Eddie as well.
John, as we close out, can you remind everybody how they connect with you?
Yeah, you guys can connect with me. I'm on Twitter, FCPortoNJ. That's my handle. I will be on Twitter. I'll be much more active on Twitter. I definitely will be. I definitely took, sort of a break, but I'll be on it more often. Hopefully I'll have good things to say. Hopefully it won't be after losses like the one against West Brom.
Well, maybe your absence, John, has coincided with our poor run of form. So get back on them, be vocal, and it'll all turn around thanks to you.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, maybe that is the coincidence. I started slipping away and the results haven't been good. But yeah, I'll definitely be more active and hopefully things do turn around.
Listeners, thanks for your continued support. If you are tuning in for the first time, please subscribe, like the podcast, share it with a friend who may be getting into the game for the first time and discovering the Wolves as a team to follow. Also, give us a 5-star review on your podcast listening platform of choice. This helps massively to push a whole lot of Wolves out there. We will be back next week to review the Cup game and Chelsea, and after that it will preview the upcoming Crystal Palace away game, so they're coming thick and fast at the moment. In the meantime, stay safe, look after each other. In Nuno we trust, and up the Wolves.